Hi, this is Jenna.
And I'm Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked. And today we are going to be talking about a very interesting, I've never heard about this at all. It's the Montauk Project, and I've never heard of it until I was researching the Philadelphia experiment and all the time traveling stuff and all of that stuff. And that's when I found out about this place, and it's so crazy, and it happened in America, and people need to know about it. If the conspiracy behind the Montauk Project is real, people need to know about it.
Okay, and then just for clarification, because I don't know what this is either, that's the name of the place that the project took place.
No.
Montauk is the place?
Yeah, Montauk is an Air Force station in Montauk, New York.
Oh, okay.
Which it's like a small, quaint little cutesy fishing town. Towards upstate New York. Just cute little, yeah.
So seemingly just a normal little town.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Montauk Project took place in Montauk at Fort Hero, and then later it was known as Camp Hero. So it was a military base of some sort. And the goal was to research time travel, psychological warfare, genetic experimentation, teleportation, and mind control.
Ooh, like MK Ultra stuff.
Yes, exactly. And I have very interesting, at the end, there's a quote from Bill Clinton regarding MK Ultra, which kind of makes the whole Montauk Project valid.
From Bill Clinton?
From when he was president in the 90s. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, okay, let's move forward. I watched a documentary called Montauk Chronicles that interviewed alleged victims, Stuart Swedler, Alfred Bellick, and Preston Nichols, and survivors of this project, and someone who worked on all the experiments as well. This is where I got most of my information from, and then I also did a lot of other research. The Montauk Project took place from January 1971 to August 12th, 1983. So not even that long ago. That was only 41 years ago. It
70 what?
1971 to 83.
Okay, yeah.
So 12 years. And the 80s were not that long ago. For the barbaric shit that you are going to hear, it is not that long ago.
It's not that long ago, but I guess if you're a Gen Z, you would say it's the 1800s.
Yeah,
so.
Well, we were born in the last century, so. The city of Montauk is located 120 miles east of New York. Apparently, Montauk was always a place of interest for the military. And even today, Montauk is super busy during the summer. And then the winter, it's just a ghost town. So yeah. It's definitely a touristy,
seasonal.
Yeah. And there's only a couple hundred people that live there. It's a very small town. Very rural, very just cute little town. The AMFBS 35 radar tower is huge and in the middle of Montauk and Fort Hero. And it towers over the city. So whenever you're in the city, you can see it above you when you're it's huge. It's 5 miles from the coast, and this radar tower weighs a whopping 70 tons.
Wow.
70,000 tons, sorry. 70 tons
bigger.
wasn't a lot.
No, 70 already sounded like a lot to me. I was wow.
Just for a picture of how big this tower is, and it's still there today. If you go to the city of Montauk, you can see it. Camp Hero, like I said, was originally Fort Hero. It was built in 1942 as a bunker for the U.S. Air Force in World War II. Okay. Did you know there's a lot of bunkers, old bunkers, places from World War II and World War I? I saw some in San Francisco by the Golden Gate Bridge. They have a few. Mm-hmm. And you can just go to them. They're not there's no sign or plaque or anything. You just know what they are.
Yeah, and I wonder too, because there's a lot of underground tunnels and stuff.
Uh-huh.
That was probably used for war times.
Yeah.
And then now who knows what they're used for.
And that's exactly what I was about to say, is that at Camp Hero there are lots of tunnels and underground entrances, as well as several smaller radar towers all around. German scientists went to Brookhaven and National Laboratories in Long Island, New York, and they were there for 20 years when the U.S. government kicked them out. So they went in like the 50s. They came over here, did experiments, and then the government was like, no, you gotta go. And so they moved their lab to Camp Hero. And they were booted because mind control was not a popular topic with Congress. So everything had to be done in secrecy, in complete secrecy. So at the time, in the early 70s, Congress was not down for mind control, which is interesting because that is when MK Ultra started.
But they were down for like programming and
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah,
they used
I guess.
the television to program and for propaganda for wars and stuff.
Yeah,
so
for
that's
sure.
part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where the conspiracies like really stick with me here, okay? It'll all come together. Extraterrestrials were aiding in these experiments by sharing their technology with the experimenters. Stewart explained a typical abduction for him when he was a child. He would be sleeping, and around 3 a.m. he would wake up and there would be shadows on the walls. The windows would shake and he would feel paralyzed, and then he'd start levitating. He would then be taken by little gray aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, completely. They would take him to this...
Probably about 3 feet tall with big black eyes.
That's exactly what he said. They would take him to this underground bunker where he would be strapped to a table, naked and poked and prodded. And he said there were just bright lights, so he couldn't see anything like past him. He just knows he was always scared. He claimed that they could also bend time. So he would know, like, okay, I've been here for days, but he would be returned to his room and it would be like only a minute or two has passed. And he was little, like we're talking like 10 years old or 8 years old. Can you imagine like being poked and prodded? And he was petrified.
So, just to help me understand and clarify, I'm listening, I understand, but the ETs took him to the base?
Yeah.
Or they took him to like their dimension or space shuttle or whatever.
In the documentary, he said that he never really knew where he was being taken to until he was like passing Montauk, and they were on a family vacation or something, and he was passing Montauk and he was like, oh my God, this is where they've been taking me.
So he recognized
it and was like, oh my God, this is it.
Okay.
It's very interesting. So, this was only one example of how how they got the boys to test on them. The Montauk boys were boys that no one would miss. They were from the ages of around 10 to 18, and they were usually runaways, homeless, or orphans. They were the ones wanting to get away and found themselves at Montauk, where they would succumb to torture to break them down. When they ran out of local boys, they would start traveling the U.S. looking for more boys. Except this time, they weren't the runaways.
So it's like child trafficking.
Yes, except they would be looking for certain traits, genetic traits, and they would actually take boys from their homes. So all those missing boys from the 70s could have been taken to Montauk to be tested on.
Okay. And did they specify what traits they were looking for?
They wanted to dominate the minds of boys. They don't say what genetic traits they were specifically looking for. They just wanted to dominate the minds of boys. They ultimately wanted to be able to control their mind. And during the ages of 10 to 18, the pineal gland is developing.
Yeah.
And as we know from our previous episode about adrenochrome, we would know that the pineal gland is what produces adrenochrome, which is extremely powerful if extracted while the person is in fear. In order to do this, they would have to break down the mind first. So the boys were often put into a cement room and hit with rods and would drown them almost to the point of death and then bring them back.
Like waterboarding?
Yeah, they were always male soldiers that did this, and they were always different ones.
So it wasn't the ETs at this point, or
No.
it was both?
The technology that they were using for the mind control and trying to get into the mind was technology from the ETs, but the ETs were not taking these boys. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them they were, and some of them they were just stealing at this point.
So it was like
it was
basically
a mix.
it was a collaboration between the ETs and the government working together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the survivors said that they would always have different male soldiers every time, so they wouldn't form any attachment to the boys.
Yeah.
So that way they wouldn't be like, oh no, like we can't do this one again. They would be shown like videos and stuff of people being raped, murdered, and tortured to break down their minds even more and be completely desensitized to like all the bad things. The goal was literally to shatter the mind and break the psyche of the brain in order to reprogram the brain. They would take the personality and fragment it into pieces. They would take a piece and develop a sub-personality, which is a little different than the real personality. And then they are given a code, like in their mind. It's the code where when they hear the code, the program personality comes forward.
You know what?
So they're putting it behind their mind.
I've heard that too with celebrities, where you'll see a celebrity in an interview and they'll kind of like space out or something weird will happen. And then the interviewer or somebody close by would say like, clap 3 times or say a word repetitively. And then you would see the celebrity kind of snap out of it and get back into the interview.
How spooky.
Yeah, I saw one with, who was it? Katy Perry was in one of the interviews I saw. And with Cardi B.
Katy Perry's interesting because her ex-husband is Russell Brand, who is very part of like politics now and all that. And it was right after they broke up that he really calmed down and stuff. And I wonder if he saw things that he shouldn't have seen, or, you know, or maybe Katy Perry sold her soul to the devil or was programmed or whatever, and Russell Brand wasn't down for that.
Well,
they're like so opposite now.
There was just he has a podcast. There was just footage of him, video footage of him with P. Diddy on I think it was like an airplane, and they were having some banter, some conversation on an airplane that just recently surfaced.
How long ago?
I just saw, I think yesterday.
No, I mean, how long ago did the conversation take place? Yeah, how long ago?
Oh, I don't know. I'm
just curious because, like I said, like it's like Russell Brand calmed down and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was hanging out with P. Diddy, doing all the weird shit.
Well, supposedly, like, there's like pretty much any celebrity you can think of is in like these freak off videos.
Oh my god.
That are like P. Diddy videos. So I don't know. Totally different, but different episode, but yeah, it's kind of, they're all connected somehow.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
No, I'm
because like Katy
I'm
Perry,
processing
Russell
now.
Brand, and then P. Diddy. Yeah.
And we've seen the weird glitchy stuff
and
with
kids.
Katy Perry.
They're taking kids. Yeah.
So the programmers would come into the room after the boys were drugged, sedated, beaten, already mind shattering. Their mind is already fragmented, and the boy would become the vessel for astral entities to enter the body, and the scientists would put chemicals into their bodies, and then the boys would start to hear voices and see a vortex swirling over their head, and the mental voices would say to stay calm, it will be all right, don't fight them. And it got to a point where the survivors say they just didn't care anymore. They didn't feel the pain. They just completely dissociated from their body.
So were they giving them LSD or DMT or something?
They don't know. The boys didn't know. And in fact, the person who was not in charge of it but worked there as an experimenter even said that he didn't know who the higher ups were. Everything was very secret, almost like with the Philadelphia Project, where that one guy didn't even know he was working on the Philadelphia Project. He thought that he was what do you think he was, like a radar or something? Yeah, a radar technician, and then come to find out he's for a radiation technician or something like crazy. So the programmers would make the kids feel like the programmers, had saved their lives and saved them from certain death. So the programmers would come in and be all buddy with them. So the boys would trust the programmers because the programmers, quote unquote, saved them from being beaten, tortured, all this shit.
So it's like Stockholm Syndrome.
Yes. And the kids would then listen to the programmers and trust them, and the programmer said that they were doing things to help humanity, making the boys feel important and proud of what they're doing. They said that that humans were violent, evil, and stupid, and that this would help control society, and that their pain and suffering would save mankind.
Aw. And they're like 10 years old.
Yeah, 10 to 18. Once the boys were reprogrammed, they would put them back out in society, ready to be activated at any time. There could be 100,000 people out there just waiting for the word that would bring out their programmed mind.
This is like Jason Bourne.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So these kids were trained to be spies and have psychic...
Oh my gosh, it's totally like Jason Bourne.
I didn't watch that. The Bourne Identity, I didn't watch
he's
that.
like that. Like, he just say a word and he's an assassin. He just, like, turns on.
Oh, wow, yeah. So that's exactly what it is. So the kids were trained to be spies and have psychic ability to aid in psychic warfare. So apparently, like, we're all born with some sort of sixth sense, psychic ability, and we just have to be able to unlock it and make these senses more heightened, and that's what they did. They made it so these boys could astral project and could see what was going on halfway around the world. 1 week after programming, they would test the boys using Carl Reiner cards that were designed in the 1930s to test the powers of the mind. They would play classical music and show these flashcards. And the flashcards were super basic shapes, but the boys would have to guess the right shape to test if they were programmed correctly.
That's like in Ghostbusters, the original.
Oh, yeah?
When he's sitting there and he's trying to test them to see what the what they can see.
So that's the Carl Reiner cards.
Oh, okay.
These psychic powers got so intense that some kids were able to move objects with their mind. In fact, a rogue group of Montauk boys are now doing dark things because they are able to manipulate the mind and can cause the entire limbic system of another human being to collapse. Pair this with the psychic abilities, and maybe you have someone like Chris Angel walking around, or some other Vegas magician. Maybe it's real and not some illusion. In fact, Chris Angel was born in 1967, putting him at the right age to be a Montauk boy. And he has said that his childhood was crap. So that's my thought. That was my conspiracy. Maybe Chris Angel is really a magician, and maybe he was a Montauk boy. So wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I mean, that would be wild.
Yeah. They also trained the boys to time travel. The body has its own biorhythms, and the earth has 4 main biorhythms. They would create an electric synchronization pattern between the human and the earth in order to create long-distance wormholes and combine time travel and space travel. And this was something that the aliens had taught them. That was their technology. And every place in the world has a unique vibration of energy. So if the person could reach the same vibration as what they are trying to control, then space and time travel could definitely happen. And this is how aliens travel through billions of years, like just in an instant, because they're able to get their vibration correct.
Yeah. So it's not even about a portal. It's just about tapping into that energy that you already have. You don't even know how to tap into, and that the earth has.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then James, a survivor, he was recruited to go back in time to get DNA samples from past historical figures to clone. And then you think about it, and you know how there's the Nicolas Cage, the Abraham Lincoln. There's all these like doppelgangers of famous people. So I don't know. One person went to Mars several times where he saw ancient artifacts from an ancient civilization.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because they do say that there's a
like
lot
caves
more on
and
Mars.
doors and shit. Yeah. The government took alien technology and was taught how to use it from the aliens. Then they took these technologies and reverse engineered them to do like other things and get to other locations that the aliens did not teach them. Like, for example, to like teleport, you need, I want to say coordinates, but it's not like coordinates, but it is coordinates. But it's not like XY coordinates, you know? It's like you need the vibration coordinates. And so the aliens supposedly gave them a few spots in the world in space. And from there, they kind of messed with the vibration coordinates to like get to new places. So they would just keep guessing and experimenting with the new coordinates.
So they can manipulate the energy.
Yeah. So the aliens were like, hey, if you want to get to Mars, here's the vibration coordinates for this. If you want to get to this location. So just like with XY coordinates, we, you know, whatever longitude and latitude, maybe if we go up a degree and down a degree, then we'll get close to the same spot, but in a new location. So they would just experiment like that. And sometimes the honing device or something would break and the boys would be lost in time and space.
Oh, that
They
would be
lost
scary.
a lot of boys. Thousands and thousands of boys died during these experiments. They would, the bodies would be disposed by being burned, being put in vats of lime acid, dumped in the ocean. Any way to like get rid of the bodies, like gone. Over the course of 13 years, up to 300,000 boys were experimented on, and less than 1% survived. From that 1%, only a handful could actually survive in society because of how much they fucked with their brain and shit. One survivor said, one survivor said that 5 million people vanish every year in the world, and he went on, and I quote, "If you think about it, 300,000 over 13 years is quite insignificant." So, like, that shows how much he has been mind controlled and desensitized. Because apparently 5 million people go missing per year around the world. So 300,000 over the course of 13, when you put it in facts like that.
It's still, I mean, I feel like it's
a lot. And this is a survivor, and he's saying it. So they really fucked with him. So John Pruitt was the program director and first lieutenant. He was on the documentary and actually said that he told a man to cut a heart from a child. Cut out the heart. So it was at that point that he wanted to do these experiments in a more humane way. But like I said before, he never knew who was actually in charge of the whole operation. Everything was very secret, hush hush. And they did have the military coming in as these soldiers to torture these boys. So I don't know how they were getting that to be able to do that, and why there aren't more people speaking up saying, yeah, I did that. Maybe because they don't want to say they did that. That would be,
why would they? Yeah, they wouldn't want to say they did that.
Yeah, that was stupid, because it's just like the Nazi people, like the guards, the Nazis, they're not nobody wanted to come forward. No, even now, people will find things in their grandfather's things, and they'll find out that their grandfather was a Nazi soldier, and they're like, what the fuck?
And their grandfathers never told about it or anything.
Why would you? So,
well, I think a lot of times too, they may be in the military, or they may be, part of the organization, the government, but they don't necessarily agree with it. And then if they're forced to do something,
they have to do it, or
they're not going to want to talk about it.
No, and
it's just like if you go to war.
I was just going to say, it's just like
if you kill somebody, you're going to come back and you're never going to be the same, but you're not going to want to talk about it.
Yeah, because I've heard military people say that they've done like really fucked up shit on like in the Middle East during like the 9/11 aftermath.
Yeah, I knew somebody
Iraqi
specifically, you know who,
Yeah.
that did some horrible stuff that I found out about, that I didn't really want to know about, but I found out about. And it wasn't anything that he could have avoided. It was just the way what happened. And it stuck with him. Like, he had serious mental issues after that.
Yeah.
And sadly, I mean, mental health is a huge,
it's really sad.
Yeah.
So after a while, John Pruitt decided that the project had gone too far. He said that the purpose of the project was to control the general public about how they think and act. But now the project was going in a completely different and wrong direction. And so he was like, this has to be stopped. This is going too far. So he recruited some of his friends within the project to help him. They met at the Memory Motel in Montauk, which is still there today. So we can go there and stay at this hotel or motel. And they planned how they were going to end all of it. So on August 12th, 1983, they all go into work as usual. And there was a kid in the Montauk chair, which was a chair that a boy would be hooked up to. And the chair could extract the thoughts of the boy and then amplify or broadcast the thoughts to a specific person or thing, like a TV screen. Whatever the sitter was thinking about, the information of that object would be displayed, as well as the properties of how to make it. So John Pruitt in the documentary used a remote control as an example. Like, if the person in the chair thought of a remote control, the remote control, as well as how to make the remote control, and everything the remote control was made of, would show up on a screen Like
all the
everything.
inner parts and everything. Okay.
And the main person to sit in the chair was mainly a boy named Duncan Cameron. He was in his early teens, and while he was in the chair, other boys would be connected as well and would be able to boost Duncan. And they called it a wish machine or a mind amplifier. When enough people would boost Duncan, he could actually materialize the object. So not just bring it up on a screen, but he could actually make it here. Like,
yeah, it's like a solid object.
A solid real thing.
Okay, yeah.
John Pruitt decided that they should have Duncan materialize some sort of like monster or beast to scare the fuck out of everybody, so that way they would want to shut the operation down. Like, oh my god, this kid just brought a fucking, dinosaur. Like, this is too far. Let's end this. So, it kind of worked. There was too much power and the whole building was collapsing in on itself when they did try to materialize like a monster.
Why am I getting like Stranger Things?
It is. I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, okay.
Just hold on.
I'm like, why? I'm like, I feel like I've watched this.
Yeah. So there was still enough. So while the walls are caving in, like the system is like blowing up, there was still enough power in the machine to run itself still. Like by itself.
Oh, wow.
So now it was like looking really dire when it finally shut off and everything powered down. And one of the survivor kids said that he felt like he was suddenly unplugged and that there was an electrical energy that just like left him. And the government will only say that the radar tower was only being used to guide airplanes. They will not address any other part of the Montauk Project.
So that's their story?
Yeah, it's just a radar tower. It's cool. Stewart, one of the survivors, founded Expansions. And Expansions is a project that helps people through metaphysical education, health, and healing. This was his way to cope and help heal himself through what he had been through. Stewart uses his time at Montauk to help people by looking within themselves, not outwards. He says everything we need to heal ourselves and reach our best potential is already inside of us. We just need to tap into it like they did in Montauk, but obviously in a humane and non-invasive way. And Expansions is kind of like a religion type thing.
Okay.
Whenever you go to the website and stuff to sign up, they have books. It's almost like the Rosicrucian place that we went to. It's kind of like that.
Okay, yeah.
There are claims that the Illuminati are actually insidious alien lineage disguised as human beings and have covertly enslaved the human race since its inception, and that the alien Illuminati is what was actually in charge of the Montauk Project.
Yeah, but going with the whole enslaved of human race, that goes in with the whole narrative or conspiracy that Earth is actually a prison for human souls. Yeah. And we are here basically just to serve them, like, and to do what they're bidding.
Yeah.
That's why we're programmed.
Well, the Illuminati controls our thoughts by poisoning our food and water supply. And the scientists knew that they could put medicine in our water and dumb down the brain and damage the body to make the person weaker so they could be more controllable.
Pineal gland.
Yeah.
Fluoride in the water.
Yeah. They put fluoride, chlorine, mercury, aluminum, and heavy metal toxins in food, water, and air.
Chemtrails.
After a while, humans become like literally a walking antenna that can pick up on ELF and microwave signals through satellite and radar.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. That's why I was so excited to do this project, this Montauk, because it kind of has everything, all the elements together. Yeah. But I've never heard of it, and I doubt a lot of other people have either.
Yeah, it's so funny how every single thing that is like conspiracy or whatever, it's all the connected. Same thing. It's just like it's different like aspects of it, but it's all the same.
It's all connected, and it's always about the money. Follow the money and power.
Money and power.
So with us being walking antennas, we humans are constantly available for programming 24/7. Because they could just bing something up into the air and it would go into...
Yeah, but what about why do they use blue on your devices? Why is it a blue screen?
What? Why? I don't know.
Like, it emits blue. Because blue is more conductive of these radio signals and waves and stuff.
Really?
The color, yeah. Which goes back to...
Do. Yep.
Direct energy weapons and the blue. It's all connected.
It's all connected. Meanwhile, the moral of the story is the Illuminati has 100% control of us at all times. James Bruce, a former survivor, said that these projects are still going on. He was recruited in kindergarten, and they would come into classrooms and pick kids straight from their classrooms. I told you, that's why I was reading this or watching the thing when you came over, and we went to go see a friend of mine who said that he had weird experiments done on him and testing when he was in kindergarten.
Where he was actually pulled out of
class to be like tested and done weird stuff.
And there was government facilities near his school.
Yes. So anyways, so they would come into the classrooms and pick kids straight from their classrooms, and the ones who would keep their mouth shut would be the ones to get picked. That's who they were looking for. That way probably they wouldn't tell. I don't know. But when he was older, they actually disguised as his father and said, "Hey, come on, you got to go home," and picked him up off the street when he was a teenager, like 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
And
how did they project like the father's image?
Yeah, and yes, I don't. They
hologram.
Yeah, they had like a mask, a masking type thing.
Yeah.
And his friends were even like, "That's not your dad," and he's like, "Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's fine." And his friends were like, "No, don't go. Like, what are you doing? That's not your dad."
Or he had already been programmed when he
when he was a kindergarten.
Something.
That's what I was thinking, was that he was already programmed, but just not to the full extent. So they picked him up and took him to Camp Hero. They were watching him his entire life and just like picked the right time to kidnap him. Isn't that crazy?
Really crazy.
So what's interesting about James Bruce is that the documentary researcher had spent years and years walking around Camp Hero and looking for entrances into the bunker. And he's just like looking all over the place. And he spent like 5 years researching for this documentary. And when James Bruce got on the scene with the documentary researcher, he took him straight to an entrance that was covered up by all these like branches and bushes, and that the researcher never could find.
So how would he know unless he had been there?
So that has to be some kind of proof that James was there and the Montauk boys were real.
Yeah.
And so obviously I looked up James Bruce and missing persons, and there was one that went missing around 2007. But he wouldn't be missing anymore. And I'm not sure what to think about any of that, because James Bruce had his face covered, like not covered, but like blocked out, and his voice masked so he would be anonymous. So I doubt that James Bruce is even his real name.
Yeah, no, it couldn't be.
Because if he's trying to be all anonymous, like as I was Googling it, I was like, wait, no, that's not even his name. But I tried, guys. I tried to do my research.
Some kind of alias, for sure.
Okay, so in 1995, President Clinton issued an apology for human radiation experiments without the people's knowledge or consent, and that they were lied to by their government. He was actually referring to MK Ultra and Dr. Green, but if they're admitting that MK Ultra is real, then why can't Montauk Project be real as well?
Because Montauk Project involves abducting children.
Yes.
And that is a big no-no.
No, that is a big no-no. And I think that is why they have kept it so secret. And also, fun fact, Stranger Things was based off the Montauk Project.
Okay. That's why I was like, wait, when you were talking about like the demon or the monster, I was just thinking about like the upside down place and how all the spooky shit. Yeah. And that's what I was envisioning.
The mind flare.
Yeah, something like that.
So the place where 11 was being tested on, and that whole laboratory was like the Montauk Project.
Okay.
So all the mind control and psychic abilities, all that shit at 11 was in essentially the Montauk Project.
Yeah, so that's where they got the basis for
yes.
that. Okay.
And it was Stranger Things took place in the 80s. This didn't shut down until 83.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, they moved locations, and Stranger Things is based on true story, and 11 is real. Maybe not. I'm just kidding. I was just kidding. I made that up right now. So there's no hard evidence other than the radar tower and the tunnels if they would let people in. They don't even let people into the tunnels. And so there's no proof that any of this happened, just like with the Philadelphia project. But if it was so underground and top secret, once again, why would there be any paperwork on it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a conspiracy that...
Whether or not it actually happened.
And honestly,
But what about the eyewitness reports of these boys? Or men now?
Yeah, they're men now. But,
yeah.
Why
would they all have the same story made up? Or similar stories made up?
Exactly. And what's interesting is that with the Philadelphia experiment, that one had one person, and then everything kind of stemmed off that one person's account.
This has multiple.
It's different. Other people are coming forward instead of it being stemmed off of one thing. It's like the boys are coming forward. Like the last boy, James Bruce, that showed him where the tunnel was. He didn't contact. They said so he wasn't in the documentary at all until the very end. And there was like a side like little note like, oh, James Bruce contacted us after we were done like making and filming, so we just kind of added his story in the end because it was too like they'd already like edited, they were like ready to send it out, so they were like, fuck, we'll just add his story to the end of it because however they were advertising for this Montauk Project documentary, he finally came forward later.
I mean, it makes sense. Maybe he was really afraid to come forward, and when he did have the nerve to, okay, I'm going to do this, it was already
anonymous too. Yeah, and he was the one that was anonymous. So, yep, that is the story all about the Montauk Project and the Montauk Boys. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, message, email us. What? What? Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. You're sitting this close to my face. Thank you so much. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
And email us at conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com and follow us on all socials. We're out there. Okay.
We're everywhere.
Bye.
Oh, we're still live.
Yeah, we are. Okay, bye.